And that's where a portion of the manosphere come from. And I say this because to me, and I'm not part of the manosphere. I don't even listen to any of those people in the manosphere. So I'm an outsider. So you guys can correct me. Like I said, the part that I did enjoy was when they talked about financial literacy, when they talked about how you can be successful in your career and so forth. Even when they're talking about, hey, wait till you got the money, then the honey will come, or whatever the case may be. Even that's fine. But to me, the manosphere, for the most part, feel like it's all about promoting these so-called hyper-masculine ideals, but at the same time, demonizing women and emotional vulnerability. So that's why we just talked about emotional vulnerability. And it's like, well, what other alternatives are being offered? If we're going to just demonize women and we're already somewhat demonizing emotional vulnerability, then what alternatives is the manosphere offering? Is it offering the regulation of self-emotions? Is it offering how to build with women? Or is it telling them that you need to put the women back in the kitchen barefoot pregnant and shit like that? Now, once again, like I said, from what I've seen, there seems to be a lot of negativity and people like, oh, relationships are going to hell. Well, shit, look who you're listening to. Look who you're listening to. That's why relationships are going to hell, coupled with what's already going on the women's side as well. I feel like the manosphere was basically a failure on men and women, right? We lack the ability to talk to each other, to build to each other, to listen with each other. And because we lack that ability, we end up having this rise of the manosphere. So I think that if it's really about male empowerment, or is it, but kind of comes off about reinforcing patriarchy. That's why we already have this whole, oh, let's get rid of all the women rights. And that's funny because a lot of times, well, that's what it seems like with, and not you guys, but in general, that's what it seems like. It's like, let's roll back some women's rights. All I'm going to say this is that ultimately the manosphere, one of the main talking points that I found besides it seems to be all about bashing women, is that they're like, oh, the feminists ruin women, feminists this, feminists that. But feminists was never about being anti-men. It was about anti-oppression. It was about, hey, can we get some rights? Can we do things? Can we not be considered property? Can we have choices? And that seems to be an issue in the manosphere about giving women the right to have choices. And because we now have choices, it feel like for some reason, how can I put it nicely? You no longer feel like you have the power that you had previously as women continue to gain choices, and hence why there seems to be a rollback. But once again, like I said, I'm not in the manosphere. I barely listen to that shit because I don't understand why are men more comfortable listening to influencers like Andrew Tate. And I give Kevin Samuels props because at one point he actually was talking to the men in regards to what they could do. And even when he talked to the women, the women, first of all, was calling in for the purpose of getting critiqued by him. And so he still was providing them with valuable advice. And so for that, I give him props. He actually tried to be even-sided as much as possible. And he started off building Black men in the first place. So that's just, like I said, I'm not really involved in that because fuck the manosphere.
Well, for somebody who's not really,
I had to do
listen to
research.
it very much, who don't, whatever, you sure had a lot to say.
Because I had to do research.
Ma'am,
I think
you might have reached your word count for this, for someone who doesn't listen to the manosphere. Either you're lying, right? You even gave Kevin Samuels some kudos. He did a lot of research this yesterday. Kudos to you, but it's okay, right? And this is what is so awesome. And I'm pointing this out on purpose, because there's a lot of women who don't know shit about the manosphere who got a lot to say about it, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is because people draw conclusions about an entire thing, even though it might just be some radicals or wings of those things. Like, you can't control every human being. Every human being who might be attached to the fraternity that I'm a member of, or the sorority that you're a member of, right? They're not all going to represent us. Matter of fact, a couple of episodes ago, there were people who decried our organizations. Does that mean they represent? No. But unfortunately, right, those people do exist, and we only pay attention to them because we pay attention to the drama. And that's partly on us, right? That's one. Number two, this idea of bashing women is funny to me because just to have a critique or to try to hold someone accountable in any type of way seems like bashing to y'all a lot of times, right? A lot of times. And we joke about the emotional ears. By the way, go ahead and cop your shirt right now. But the reason why the communication is tough between men and women is because sometimes y'all don't listen. There's a conversation being had about whether or not y'all really care about us to a certain extent, like whether or not men are cared for in society as a whole, let alone like their mental health, their emotional well-being, right? And then whether or not women even care either. right? Because if a person cares, you would think they'd be open to hearing your grievances, your concerns, right? And want to do their part to improve on the relationship. But if every time a man is making a statement that might seem negative towards a woman, it feels like bashing, that's a problem. Are there men who bash women? Absolutely. Some of those men either pander or bash because they know there's money in it. Fools on us, or shame on us for that. But the truth is, when we're having genuine conversations, it doesn't matter what the topic is. If there's something that's negative towards women, it can't just be, you know what, I give you that. That's what's up. I accept that, right? No. So yes, if men are going to have conversations amongst men, guess what? Women are going to show up. You know why? Because we do want to be with y'all. Right? I think a lot of times on this show, I listen to the hurt. So I listen past the hurt. So the guys who are out here bitching and moaning, what I hear is a nigga who secretly down deep wants to be with someone, wants to be better than what he is, but he just doesn't have the tools. And some of these charlatans and grifters on the websites will go out there and take their money. Let me teach you how to pick up a girl. I saw a video of a guy paying $3,000 to learn how to pick up women. It's about the jacket that you wore. Right. So there's grifters in the space, right? And they tend to then identify it. But by and large, there are organizations, there are people who are trying to, yes, help men. You know why? Because we've let them down, right? It's not the present generation. The older generation has let down the younger generation, right? We stopped giving them people to listen to. So guess what? They got to go elsewhere to get the information. So we talked about single mothers. If they were raised in a single mother home and did not have a man in the home, then what is going to happen when there's these men presenting themselves as alpha males that you should follow me to have what I have so you can be like me? They're going to follow them, right? So it's like, you know what I'm saying? There's consequences, right? Some of those same men are reacting emotionally. This idea, I've never in my life heard of men just being, I'm going to hold my dick because it's just crazy out here. You know what I'm saying? Shit that women do in terms of being celibate. All of a sudden, there's incels. The fuck is that? If that ain't the most, never mind. But the point that I'm making is that we have let down these young men because as we get married, as we go on to our lives, we're not reinvesting into the young people and providing them maybe enough males, men to be around them to help teach them and grow. How many dudes are out here being coaches or volunteering their times? I mean, many of us might just barely be getting by and may not have the bandwidth because we got to take care of our families first. But those households that don't have men, guess what? You know what I'm saying? They're going to fend for themselves to a certain extent. So those young men, then now you can scale up masculinity. Now you can have the Andrew Tates who can speak well and how he gets women, how he commands himself. He got a couple of dollars. So yes, these guys are looking up to these other guys because they're more attainable. They can't be LeBron James, but they can be Ace Metaphor. You know what I'm saying? Or they can try to figure out. So I'm just saying, like, I get that we want to blame podcasters all the time. But I think if we really look at it, we got to blame us. And when I say us as the older generation too, because we as older people do some fuck shit towards the younger people, right? Because I remember when I was younger, how it felt when a young older brother was trying to like put me up on game, but he looked past me. He act like he was never as young as I was. So none of us as young, rebellious people are going to listen to somebody who's judging us. Get the fuck out of here, right? We don't meet people where they are. Right. So we talk down to them and expect them to follow us. Right. And I wasn't with that shit. I know a lot of young men aren't. So when I talk to young men, I'm not judging them for what? You know what I'm saying? Like, because if I'm trying to reach them, I don't think judgment is the way to go. And that's why I fucking hate some of these Manosphere niggas, because truthfully, some of them low key are judging y'all and y'all fall for it. You know what I'm saying? Some of them, I mean, pause right there because there's more to this Manosphere shit, but there's a lot of toxic shit that I do hear in the Manosphere. That's some bullshit. Am I going to blame that on the whole? No. I'd call out the individuals and say, no, that nigga who said that, that's some fucked up shit. Because different people are allowed to have a different opinion, even if they agree generally in regards to the needs that men have in terms of improvement. But there's some charlatans out there who are, I think, doing our community a disservice. Right. And so, Jay, you said, oh, everybody should be able to. You're right. Everybody should be able to. But we have to do better about who the fuck we listen to. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can't discern the mother. Y'all wouldn't go to a dentist if their teeth was fucked up. So y'all listening to a woman who's never been because she's whatever, man. So my point is that I think we got to be the ones, the consumers of content, number one, have to be held accountable and be responsible for what they choose to listen to. Right. Number one. And I also think big picture, we as older men, we got to put the younger men more on game. And I think that's one of the reasons why we started a podcast, because, yeah, we're going to talk our talk and be toxic or whatever. But at the heart of it, it's like there's some truth to what the fuck we want to talk about. Like, it's not about completely bashing women. That's why if you guys ever notice, SNL will say, well, I'm not talking about the guys here. Maybe she's being polite and low key is talking about us, right? But by and large, yes, we can kind of hit those toxic notes. But the truth of the matter is, right, that some of that shit is bullshit and problematic, right? It's not, I don't think, the manosphere as a whole. And I think a lot of times when women hear that, they only focus on the one or two parts they don't like, not thinking that, unfortunately, this does serve a purpose. there are some men whose lives have probably been improved, right? Because somebody told them that they need to make more money to be able to be the type of guy that they thought they could be.